The Kethvar raiding fleet emerged from hyperspace like predators sensing wounded prey. 7 sleek vessels, their hulls gleaming with the dark metal that had conquered dozens of worlds, formed a hunting formation around the lone human ship drifting in the void. To their sensors, it appeared lifeless, a derelict warship spinning slowly through space, its engines cold and weapons powered down. Captain Zarthok's mandibles clicked with satisfaction as he studied the readings on his command display. The human vessel was massive, easily 3 times the size of his flagship, but size meant nothing when a ship was dead in space. His crews had been raiding the outer colonies for months, and this would be their greatest prize yet. Life signs? He hissed to his sensor operator. Minimal, Commander. Perhaps 50 beings aboard a ship designed for thousands. Emergency power only. No weapon signatures detected. Zarthok's 4 eyes glittered. Humans were valuable slaves in certain sectors, but their technology was worth even more. This ship alone would fund his clan for generations. The human colonies had been mysteriously quiet lately, with many settlements found abandoned. Some of his fellow raiders whispered about a new human military initiative, but Zarthok dismissed such talk as cowardice. "Signal the boarding crews," he commanded. "Full assault teams to secure the ship. I want prisoners for interrogation and every piece of technology cataloged." The crew moved with practiced efficiency. The Kethvar had perfected the art of boarding operations over centuries of piracy. Their ships closed distance, magnetic clamps extending to lock onto the human vessel's hull. Cutting torches sparked to life as they began breaching operations at multiple points. Inside the human ship, Master Sergeant Elena Vasquez watched the alien attackers through concealed sensors. Her weathered face remained calm despite the approaching threat. Around her, the skeleton crew of 50 moved through their final preparations with military precision. Each was a volunteer. Each knew the odds, and each understood what was at stake. "Boarding crews making entry at sections 7, 12, and 19, reported Corporal Chen from his monitoring station. "Estimated 200 hostiles." "Acknowledged," Elena replied, her voice steady. "All teams maintain radio silence. Wait for my signal." The ship around them was indeed mostly powered down, but not from damage or malfunction. The UES Retribution had been specially modified for this mission. Hidden weapon systems lay dormant throughout its corridors, concealed behind false bulkheads and disguised as maintenance equipment. Advanced AI systems monitored every movement while appearing as simple emergency lighting to enemy scanners. The first Kethvar warriors burst through the hull breaches, their segmented armor gleaming and plasma rifles charged. They moved in practiced formations, expecting to encounter scattered pockets of desperate resistance. Instead, they found empty corridors lit only by dim emergency lighting. Squad leader Krex motioned his team forward through what appeared to be a main corridor. The human ship's interior was strange, wider passages than necessary, with unusual geometric patterns along the walls. His thermal sensors detected the faint heat signatures of the remaining crew somewhere deeper in the ship. "Too easy," muttered one of his subordinates. "A young warrior named Vesh. Humans are weak," Krex replied, though something about the empty corridors made his neck spines prickle with unease. They probably fled to their escape pods. Meanwhile, other boarding teams penetrated deeper into the ship, each squad believing they were making excellent progress. The corridors seemed to lead naturally toward the ship's center, where their sensors indicated the largest concentration of life signs. None of them noticed how their separate routes were being subtly guided. Captain Zarthok monitored the operation from his flagship, growing more confident by the minute. His boarding teams reported steady progress with no significant resistance. Soon he would have a human warship as his trophy and its crew as his prisoners. In the deepest part of the Retribution, Elena and her team waited in what appeared to be the ship's main command center. Banks of consoles surrounded them, most dark but a few showing basic life support readings. To approaching enemies, it would look like a last desperate stand by a cornered crew. Thermal imaging shows 3 separate boarding groups. Chen reported quietly. "They're being funneled exactly as planned." Elena nodded. The ship's layout had been specifically designed for this moment. What looked like logical pathways to the aliens were actually carefully constructed kill zones. Every corridor, every junction had been planned to funnel attackers into predetermined positions. "Engineering." "Report," she whispered into her comm. "All systems green," came the reply from deep in the ship. "Reactor core is ready for full activation on your command. Weapons." "Standing by." All concealed batteries are armed and targeting solutions are locked. The first Kethvar squad reached the outer perimeter of the command section. Krex held up a clawed hand, signaling his team to halt. Through the transparent aluminum viewport, they could see the humans inside. A small group clustered around their consoles, apparently trying to restore their ship's systems. Pitiful, Krex growled. Prepare breach charges. We take them alive for questioning. Behind him, his warriors spread out in assault formation. Other squads were converging on the same area from different directions, just as their tactical doctrine demanded. Everything was proceeding perfectly. Elena felt the ship's deck plating vibrate slightly as the aliens prepared their breaching charges. Around her, the crew maintained their act, some typing frantically at dead consoles, others appearing to argue in panicked whispers. To hidden sensors, every Kethvar warrior was now positioned exactly where they needed to be. All teams report ready, came the whispered confirmation in her earpiece. Elena closed her eyes for a moment, thinking of the colonies these raiders had destroyed, the families torn apart, the children taken as slaves. When she opened them again, they held the cold fire that had made her a legend. In the Terran Defense Force, this is for new. Geneva, she whispered, her finger hovered over a single button on her command console, a button that would transform the retribution from apparent, helpless prey into something the Kethvar had never encountered before. The trap was set, the hunters had become the hunted, and the aliens were about to learn why humanity had survived to spread across the stars. The breaching charges were armed. The final act was about to begin. The breaching charges detonated in perfect synchronization, filling 3 separate corridors with smoke and the acrid smell of melted metal. Kethvar warriors poured through the openings, their night vision adapting instantly to the dim interior. Squad leader Krex led his team toward what their sensors indicated was the main command center, confident that victory was moments away. Remember, we need prisoners, he barked to his warriors as they advanced. Kill only if necessary. The humans appeared trapped in their command center, frantically working at their consoles as death approached. Through the viewports, Krex could see them clearly, a handful of desperate survivors trying to restore power to their dying ship. It was almost pathetic. What Krex couldn't see were the thousands of micro-sensors tracking his every movement, the hidden weapon systems adjusting their targeting solutions, or the predatory smile growing on Elena Vasquez's face as she watched the aliens walk into her perfectly orchestrated trap. Breach in 10 seconds, Krex announced, his warriors forming up behind him with military precision. Similar announcements echoed through the ship as other squads prepared their own assaults. Every Kethvar warrior was now positioned exactly where Elena needed them. Engineering, Elena whispered into her comm. Initiate full power restoration. Deep in the ship's core, Chief Engineer Martinez pressed a single control. The Retribution's fusion reactor, which had been running on minimal power, suddenly roared to full life. Throughout the vessel, systems that had appeared dead began their rapid startup sequences. The first sign something was wrong came when the ship's gravity plates activated. Kethvar warriors, accustomed to the lighter gravity of their homeworld, suddenly found themselves struggling against Earth-normal conditions. Several stumbled under the unexpected weight, their movements becoming sluggish and awkward. What's happening? Vesh gasped, his rifle suddenly feeling twice as heavy. Krex snarled in confusion as emergency lighting gave way to full illumination, revealing details of the corridor that their sensors had missed. The walls weren't simple metal plating. They were armored composite designed to contain explosions. What had appeared to be maintenance panels were sliding open to reveal weapon emplacements. Ambush, Krex roared, but his warning came too late. Elena's finger came down on the command button. The Retribution transformed in an instant from seemingly helpless prey to apex predator. Hidden weapon systems throughout the ship activated simultaneously, filling the corridors with devastating crossfire. Plasma cannons concealed behind false walls unleashed torrents of superheated energy. Automated defense turrets dropped from hidden ceiling compartments, their targeting systems locked onto every Kethvar life sign. The aliens had spread themselves throughout the ship exactly as Elena had planned, positioning themselves in what they thought were tactically advantageous locations. Instead, they had walked into a 3-dimensional maze of overlapping kill zones. Squad leader Krex dove for cover as plasma fire erupted around him, the temperature in the corridor spiking to dangerous levels. His thermal armor, designed for the cooler Kethvar homeworld, immediately began overheating. Through his comm system, he could hear the screams and battle cries of warriors throughout the ship as they suddenly found themselves fighting for their lives. "Fall back to the breach points," he ordered, but the ship's layout worked against them. The corridors that had seemed to lead naturally inward now became death traps with no easy path to retreat. In the command center, Elena watched tactical displays showing the battle throughout her ship. Each red dot represented a Kethvar warrior, and she watched with grim satisfaction as their numbers began to dwindle. Her crew maintained their positions, letting the ship's automated systems do most of the work. "Boarding Team Alpha is pinned down in Section 7, reported Chen. 15 hostiles, requesting permission to engage directly." "Negative," Elena replied. "Let the ship handle them. We stick to the plan." Captain Zarthok watched from his flagship as his boarding operation descended into chaos. The human ship, which had appeared dead moments before, was now fully powered and fighting back with unexpected ferocity. His warriors' confident reports had turned to desperate calls for extraction. "What's happening over there?" he demanded from his sensor operator. "The human ship has powered up completely, sir. It's not damaged at all. Our boarding teams are taking heavy casualties." Zarthok's blood ran cold. He had been raiding for 30 cycles, and he had never encountered anything like this. The humans had deliberately appeared helpless, drawing his forces into a trap. But how could such a primitive species execute such a sophisticated deception? "Bring us about," he ordered. "Full weapons on that ship." "Sir, our warriors are still aboard." "I said full weapons." Zarthok snarled. He would rather lose his boarding teams than his entire fleet. As the Kethvar ships maneuvered to attack positions, Elena activated the Retribution's external defenses. The ship's hull, which had appeared to be standard human military construction, began to transform. Armored plates slid aside to reveal weapon batteries that should have been impossible to hide from sensors. "External hostiles moving to attack formation," Chen reported. "Right on schedule." Elena smiled grimly. "All hands prepare for combat maneuvering." The Retribution's engines, which had been cold for hours, ignited with the fury of a small star. The massive ship began to move with an agility that defied its size, rotating to bring its main batteries to bear on the Kethvar fleet. What the aliens didn't know was that the ship had been specifically designed for this mission, a purpose-built predator disguised as helpless prey. Inside the ship, the surviving Kethvar warriors found themselves caught in an impossible situation. The automated defenses had ceased firing, but now they faced a new horror. Human Marines who had been hidden throughout the ship emerged from concealment points with military precision. These weren't the desperate survivors the Kethvar had expected to capture. These were elite soldiers, equipped with the finest armor and weapons humanity could produce. Each Marine had been selected for this mission, trained specifically to fight in the ship's corridors. Squad leader Krex found himself face to face with a human sergeant whose armor bore the scars of countless battles. The man's eyes held the cold professionalism of a born killer, and his weapon never wavered as he spoke. "You picked the wrong ship, alien," the sergeant said calmly. "Drop your weapons and surrender, or we'll finish what our ship started." Behind him, more human soldiers appeared from hidden positions throughout the corridor. Krex realized with growing horror that they had never been in control of this situation. From the moment they had breached the hull, every step had been anticipated, every movement guided by an enemy that understood war on a level his people had never imagined. "This is impossible," he whispered. "Welcome to humanity," the sergeant replied, and opened fire. The human sergeant's weapon discharged with a sharp crack that echoed through the corridor. Krex barely managed to dive behind a bulkhead as the kinetic round shattered the wall where his head had been. The human projectile weapons were primitive compared to Kethvar plasma rifles, but in the confined spaces of the ship's interior, they were devastatingly effective. "Surrender now, and you might live to see a prison cell," the sergeant called out, his voice carrying the casual confidence of someone who had done this many times before. Throughout the ship, similar confrontations were taking place as human Marines emerged from hidden positions to face the scattered Kethvar boarding teams. The aliens who had expected to overwhelm a handful of desperate survivors now found themselves outnumbered and outmaneuvered by professional soldiers who knew every inch of their battlefield. Krex pressed his back against the bulkhead, his mind racing. His squad of 12 warriors had been reduced to 6 in the initial automated attack. and now they faced an unknown number of human soldiers. His thermal sensors showed at least 8 heat signatures in the corridor ahead, but the ship's heating systems made accurate counts impossible. "Squad leaders, report status," he whispered into his comm system. The responses painted a grim picture. Squad Leader Thys in Section 12 reported being pinned down by human forces with superior positioning. Squad Leader Vorthak in Section 19 had lost contact entirely. Of the 200 warriors who had boarded the ship, less than half were still responsive. In the Retribution's command center, Elena monitored the tactical situation with cold satisfaction. Her Marines were performing exactly as trained, systematically isolating and neutralizing the alien boarding teams. The ship's advanced AI was coordinating the operation, ensuring that no human forces accidentally engaged each other while maintaining maximum pressure on the invaders. "Marine Team 3 has secured Section 7, Chen reported. 15 alien prisoners, 3 casualties on our side. Marine Team 5 requests permission to advance on Section 12, added another technician. Elena studied the tactical display. Squad Leader Thys and his remaining warriors were trapped in a dead-end corridor, with human forces blocking their only exit. Rather than order an immediate assault, she made a different choice. "Patch me through to the alien commander in Section 12, she ordered. Within moments, her voice was broadcasting through the ship's communication system directly to Thys's position. When she spoke, her words were calm and measured, translated into Kethvar by the ship's linguistic computers. "Alien Commander. This is Master Sergeant Elena Vasquez of the Terran Defense Force. You and your warriors are trapped with no possibility of escape or rescue. I am offering you one chance to surrender with honor." In Section 12, Thys crouched behind an overturned cargo container with his remaining 4 warriors. The human female's voice reached him clearly, and he could hear the absolute confidence in her tone. Through the corridor ahead, he could see the shadows of human soldiers maintaining their positions, content to wait. "We are Kethvar warriors," he responded defiantly. "We do not surrender to inferior species." Elena's laugh carried no humor. "Inferior? Look around you, warrior. Your superior raiding fleet walked into our trap exactly as we planned. Your technology couldn't detect our deception. Your tactics couldn't adapt to our strategy, and your warriors are dying in corridors we designed to kill them." The words hit Thys like physical blows. Everything she said was true. The humans had anticipated their every move, prepared for every contingency. This wasn't the random luck of desperate prey fighting back. This was the calculated execution of a superior military mind. Outside the ship, Captain Zarthok faced his own crisis as the Retribution revealed its true nature. The human vessel's hidden weapon batteries had emerged from concealment, presenting targeting solutions that his sensors couldn't explain. Where had all those weapons been hidden? How had their scans missed such massive armaments? "Evasive maneuvers," he ordered as the first human salvo reached his position. The Retribution's main guns spoke with the voice of controlled fusion, hurling projectiles at velocities that made them impossible to intercept. Zarthok's flagship shuddered as its shields absorbed impacts that should have been beyond any human weapon's capability. His sensor operator was frantically recalibrating their instruments, unable to explain the power readings they were detecting. "Sir, the human ship is moving," his navigation officer reported with barely concealed panic. Zarthok turned to see the massive human vessel accelerating with impossible grace. Ships that size weren't supposed to maneuver like fighters, but the Retribution was turning to engage his scattered fleet with the precision of a surgeon's blade. As it moved, more weapon batteries became visible, emerging from hull sections that their scans had identified as cargo holds and crew quarters. "It's not a warship," he whispered in growing realization. "It's a trap." The human vessel had been purpose-built for this exact scenario. Every system, every component had been designed to lure raiders into a false sense of security before revealing its true nature. The Kethvar had encountered humans before, but never like this. This represented a level of strategic thinking that his people had never attributed to the younger species. Back inside the ship, Elena was coordinating the final phase of her operation. The surviving Kethvar warriors were isolated in small groups, cut off from each other and from any hope of escape. Her Marines had taken minimal casualties while systematically dismantling what had been one of the most feared raiding fleets in this sector. "Sergeant Morrison, what's the status on the alien commander in Section 7? She asked. Still refusing to surrender, ma'am. His squad is down to 3 effectives, but they're dug in tight. Elena nodded. Krex and his warriors were trapped in a section of corridor with no escape routes, but they continued to resist. She could order a final assault, but she had a better idea. The ship's advanced systems offered other options for dealing with stubborn enemies. Initiate atmospheric isolation for Section 7, she commanded. Yes, ma'am. Sealing blast doors and beginning air extraction. In Section 7, Krex suddenly found breathing becoming difficult as the ship's environmental systems turned against him. Warning lights flashed as the air was systematically removed from his section of corridor. The humans had simply decided to suffocate him and his warriors, rather than risk casualties in a direct assault. Clever, he admitted grudgingly. The humans were demonstrating tactical flexibility that impressed him, even as it sealed his doom. They could adapt their strategy in real time, using their ship's systems as weapons in ways that Kethvar raiders had never imagined. As his vision began to blur from oxygen deprivation, Krex made his final transmission. All Kethvar warriors, this is Squad Leader Krex. We have been outmaneuvered. The humans are not what we thought. They are dangerous. Elena listened to the alien's final words with grim satisfaction. The message would be transmitted to other Kethvar forces throughout the sector, warning them that humanity was no longer easy prey. That had been part of the plan from the beginning, not just to defeat this raiding fleet, but to send a message that would spread throughout the alien criminal networks. Restore atmosphere to Section 7 and have medical teams standing by, she ordered. I want prisoners for interrogation. The trap had worked perfectly, but Elena knew this was just the beginning. The Retribution was one of 12 ships in the new hunter-killer program, each designed to hunt the hunters who had been preying on human colonies. The galaxy's predators were about to learn that humanity had evolved beyond their understanding. The age of easy human prey was over. Captain Zarthok watched in growing horror as his raiding fleet was systematically destroyed. The human ship moved through space like a living predator, its weapons reaching out to touch his vessels with devastating precision. 3 of his 7 ships had already been reduced to drifting wreckage, their crews dead or dying in the cold vacuum of space. Return fire, he screamed at his weapons officer, but the response was futile. Every shot they fired seemed to miss by impossible margins, as if the human ship could predict their targeting solutions before they were calculated. Meanwhile, the enemy's return fire never missed its mark. Sir, their weapon technology is beyond our understanding, his science officer reported, voice shaking with fear. They're using some form of guided projectile system that adjusts its trajectory in flight. Our point defense systems can't intercept them. Zarthok's mandibles clicked in frustrated rage. The Kethvar had ruled this sector for generations through superior firepower and ruthless tactics. How could a species they had dismissed as primitive cattle demonstrate such overwhelming technological superiority? The answer lay in humanity's greatest strength, their ability to learn from their enemies and surpass them. Every Kethvar raid had been studied, analyzed, and countered. The Retribution represented years of research and development, specifically designed to hunt the hunters who had been preying on human settlements. Aboard the human vessel, Elena coordinated the external battle while simultaneously managing the mop-up operations inside her ship. The artificial intelligence systems that controlled the Retribution's weapons were performing flawlessly, engaging multiple targets with inhuman precision, while calculating optimal firing solutions faster than any organic crew could match. Enemy flagship is attempting to withdraw, Chen reported from his tactical station. Negative, Elena replied coldly. No survivors, no witnesses to warn other raider fleets. Lock all batteries on the command ship and prepare for final engagement. The Retribution's main gun swiveled with mechanical precision, targeting the fleeing Kethvar flagship. Elena felt no satisfaction in the coming destruction, only the cold professionalism of a soldier executing a necessary mission. These aliens had chosen to prey on human colonies, had murdered civilians and enslaved children. Justice demanded payment in full. Inside the ship, the last pockets of Kethvar resistance were being systematically eliminated. Medical teams moved through the corridors, treating wounded human Marines while sorting alien prisoners into groups for interrogation. The ship's brig, which had been disguised as cargo storage, now revealed its true purpose as captured raiders were secured in holding cells designed specifically for alien physiology. Squad leader Krex found himself among the prisoners, his armor removed and his weapons confiscated. The human medical team had treated his oxygen deprivation efficiently and professionally, showing him more mercy than his own forces had ever shown their captives. The irony was not lost on him. A human intelligence officer approached his cell, a woman with the cold eyes of someone accustomed to extracting information from unwilling subjects. She spoke his language fluently, another indication of how thoroughly humanity had prepared for this encounter. "I am Commander Sarah Chen, Terran Military Intelligence," she said, settling into a chair outside his cell. "I have some questions about Kethvar raiding operations in this sector." Krex remained silent, his warrior's code demanding resistance even in captivity. The human woman seemed unsurprised by his defiance. "Let me explain your situation," she continued calmly. "Your raiding fleet is being destroyed as we speak. Your flagship will be gone within minutes. The only Kethvar vessels that will survive this encounter are those carrying prisoners like yourself." Through the ship's hull, Krex could feel the vibrations of ongoing weapons fire. The human's words had the ring of truth, and his warrior's instincts told him that she was not bluffing. His people were dying while he sat helpless in a cell. "We are collecting intelligence on every raider clan in this sector," Chen explained. "Base locations, fleet compositions, supply lines, leadership structures. You can provide this information voluntarily, or we can extract it through other means. The choice is yours." Krex's training told him to resist, but his mind was reeling from the implications of what he had witnessed. The humans had demonstrated tactical and technological superiority that shattered every assumption the Kethvar had made about their prey species. If this was the new standard of human military capability, then his people were walking into extinction one raid at a time. "Why?" he asked finally. "Why reveal your true capabilities now?" Chen smiled, and there was something predatory in her expression that reminded him uncomfortably of his own people at their most dangerous. "Because we're tired of being hunted. The galaxy's predator species have grown comfortable feeding on human colonies, thinking we're easy prey. It's time they learned otherwise." Outside the ship, the final Kethvar vessel died in a brief flare of fusion fire. The Retribution's weapons had spoken their judgment, and an entire raiding fleet had been erased from existence. Only the prisoners aboard the human ship remained as witnesses to their people's defeat. Elena received the confirmation from her tactical officer with grim satisfaction. "All enemy vessels destroyed. No escape pods detected." "Excellent. Signal the cleanup crew and begin evidence collection. I want every piece of alien technology recovered and analyzed." The Retribution's secondary mission was beginning. Specialized teams would sweep through the debris field, collecting Kethvar technology for study and reverse engineering. Every weapon system, every piece of equipment would be analyzed to further improve humanity's understanding of their enemies' capabilities. Deep in the ship's intelligence center, Commander Chen was making progress with her first prisoner. Krex had begun talking, his warrior's pragmatism overcoming his initial resistance as he realized the hopelessness of his situation. The information he provided would be invaluable for planning future operations against Kethvar raider bases. "Your people called us weak," Chen said as she reviewed Krex's testimony. "Inferior, primitive. How do you reconcile that assessment with what happened here today?" Krex was quiet for a long moment, his alien features unreadable. When he spoke, his voice carried the weight of dawning understanding. "We were wrong," he admitted. "We saw only what you wanted us to see. Your species. You are not prey. You are apex predators disguised as prey." Chen nodded approvingly. "Now you're beginning to understand. This ship, this operation, it's just the beginning. Humanity is done being the victim. We're taking the fight to those who would hunt us." In the command center, Elena was already planning the next phase of operations. The Retribution's mission had been a complete success, but it was only one engagement in a larger campaign. Across human space, 11 other hunter-killer vessels were executing similar operations, systematically hunting down the raider fleets that had terrorized human colonies for decades. "Set course for the Kethvar supply depot in the Proxima system," she ordered. "Intelligence indicates it's lightly defended and serves as a staging area for raids into human territory." The message was clear. Humanity was no longer content to defend passively against alien aggression. They were taking the war to their enemy's doorstep. using the raiders' own tactics against them with devastating effectiveness. As the retribution turned toward its next target, Elena allowed herself a moment of satisfaction. The galaxy's predators had grown comfortable in their dominance, never imagining that their prey might evolve into something more dangerous than themselves. They were about to learn that evolution was humanity's greatest weapon, and the lesson would be written in fire across the stars. 3 days after the destruction of Zarthok's fleet, the news reached the Kethvar High Command on their fortress world of Drakmor. Grand Admiral Vextai received the intelligence report with disbelief, his 4 eyes scanning the data transmission twice before accepting its implications. An entire raiding fleet, 7 ships and their crews, had vanished without trace in human space. "This is impossible," he growled to his intelligence chief. "Zarthok commanded experienced raiders. His ships were among our finest. How does an entire fleet simply disappear?" Chief Analyst Mordak shifted uncomfortably under his superior's gaze. The last transmission from their fleet indicated they had located a derelict human warship. After that, silence. Vextai's claws scraped against his command console as he considered the possibilities. Mechanical failure was unlikely across 7 ships simultaneously. Ambush by human naval forces was possible, but their intelligence indicated no major human military presence in that sector. The most logical explanation was also the most troubling. The humans had set a trap. "Double the guard on all raiding operations," he ordered. "And send word to clan leaders throughout the sector. All raids are to be conducted with maximum caution until we understand what happened to Zarthok." But Vextai's warnings came too late. Even as he issued his orders, similar scenes were playing out across Kethvar-controlled space. The Retribution was not operating alone. In the Centauri system, the UES Predator had just finished mopping up another raider fleet. Captain Marcus Torres watched from his command deck as the last Kethvar vessel exploded in a brief fireball, its crew joining their comrades in death. His ship, like the Retribution, had been designed from the ground up as a hunter-killer, built to appear vulnerable while concealing devastating firepower. "All targets neutralized," his tactical officer reported. 16 enemy vessels destroyed, 47 prisoners taken. Torres nodded with satisfaction. The Kethvar had grown predictable in their hunting patterns, always seeking what appeared to be easy prey. The hunter-killer program exploited that predictability ruthlessly, presenting irresistible targets that turned into death traps the moment aliens took the bait. Meanwhile, in a secure facility on Earth, Admiral Sarah Harrison reviewed the reports flowing in from all 12 hunter-killer vessels. The program was exceeding all expectations, with raider fleets being systematically eliminated throughout human space and beyond. More importantly, the psychological impact was beginning to show results. "Intelligence indicates increasing caution among raider clans," her aide reported. "Several groups have suspended operations entirely, while others are demanding significantly larger fleets before attempting raids on human targets." Harrison smiled grimly. Fear was spreading through the galactic criminal networks faster than any military campaign could have achieved. The predator species were beginning to understand that humanity was no longer easy prey, and that uncertainty was making them hesitant to attack. Aboard the Retribution, Elena was interrogating another batch of Kethvar prisoners captured during their latest operation. The intelligence gathered from these sessions was proving invaluable, revealing the locations of raider bases, supply depots, and command structures throughout this sector of space. "Tell me about the base on Corvash Prime," she said to a captured ship captain named Thekvar. The alien remained defiant, his segmented mandibles clicking in what Elena had learned was a sign of anger. "I will tell you nothing, human scum." Elena's expression remained neutral, but there was something in her eyes that made the alien warrior step back instinctively. She had perfected this interrogation technique over months of practice with captured raiders, using their own psychology against them. "Captain Thekvar, you're a warrior of the Kethvar." "I respect that," she said calmly. "But you need to understand your situation. Your fleet is gone. Your crew is dead. Your raiding clan will assume you died with them. As far as your people are concerned, you no longer exist." The words hit Thekvar like physical blows. In Kethvar culture, a warrior's honor was tied directly to their clan and their service record. To be forgotten, to have one's existence denied, was a fate worse than death. "However," Elena continued, "your cooperation could change that. The information you provide will be used to protect human colonies from future raids. You could save thousands of lives, human and Kethvar alike, by helping us end this cycle of violence. Thekvar struggled with the dilemma. His warrior's code demanded silence, but his rational mind understood the futility of continued resistance. The humans had demonstrated overwhelming superiority in every engagement. Continued raiding would only lead to more Kethvar deaths. "What do you offer in exchange?" he asked finally. "Repatriation," Elena replied. "When this operation concludes, surviving prisoners will be returned to Kethvar space with a message for your high command. You could be among them." The offer was genuine. Humanity's goal was not genocide but deterrence. They wanted the galaxy's predator species to understand that humans were no longer viable targets, not to exterminate them entirely. Released prisoners would serve as witnesses to human military capability, spreading fear and caution throughout the raider clans. While Elena conducted her interrogation, Chief Engineer Martinez was studying captured Kethvar technology in the ship's analysis bay. The alien weapons and equipment were sophisticated, but showed fundamental design flaws that reflected their creators' psychology. They build everything for intimidation first, functionality second, he explained to his research team. "Look at these plasma rifles. They're powerful but grossly inefficient. The energy consumption is 3 times what it needs to be, all to create more impressive visual effects." The analysis revealed something important about the Kethvar mindset. They were predators who relied on fear and overwhelming force to subdue their enemies. When faced with prey that didn't submit to intimidation tactics, they lacked the adaptability to adjust their strategy effectively. "It's a weakness we can exploit," Martinez continued. "Their entire military doctrine assumes enemy surrender after the initial show of force. They're not prepared for sustained resistance from technologically equal opponents." This intelligence was being shared throughout the human fleet, giving every captain and crew member insights into alien psychology that could prove crucial in future engagements. Knowledge was just as important as firepower in this new phase of human military doctrine. In his cell aboard the Retribution, former squad leader Krex had become an unexpected source of strategic intelligence. His warrior's mind, once devoted to planning raids on human settlements, now helped human strategists understand Kethvar tactical thinking from the inside. "Your species makes one critical error," he told Commander Chen during their latest session. "You assume all Kethvar think alike. The clans are rivals as much as allies. Many would celebrate the destruction of Zarthok's fleet, seeing it as an opportunity to claim his territory." Chen leaned forward with interest. "You're suggesting we could turn the clans against each other?" "Not turn them," Krex corrected. "Simply accelerate existing tensions. Remove the most powerful clan leaders, and the others will fight among themselves for dominance. Your war becomes their civil war." The suggestion was cold-blooded but strategically sound. Rather than fighting a unified enemy, humanity could exploit existing divisions within Kethvar society. It was a lesson learned from Earth's own history. Sometimes the most effective way to defeat an enemy was to let them defeat themselves. As the Retribution continued its hunt through space, Elena reflected on how much had changed since the program began. Human colonies that had lived in terror of alien raids were now seeing their attackers simply disappear. The psychological tide was turning, and with it, the balance of power in this region of the galaxy. The predators were becoming the prey, and they were learning that humanity had evolved far beyond their understanding. The age of easy human victims was ending, replaced by something far more dangerous: humans who had learned to hunt back. Grand Admiral Vextai stood before the assembled clan leaders in the Great Hall of Drakmor, his scarred carapace reflecting the harsh lighting as he delivered news that would reshape their understanding of the galaxy. The holographic display behind him showed the devastating statistics: 43 raiding fleets destroyed in the past month, over 2,000 Kethvar warriors dead or missing, and not a single successful raid on human territory. "The humans have declared war," he announced, his voice carrying across the silent chamber. "Not the war we expected, with fleets meeting in open space, but something far more insidious. They hunt us as we once hunted them." Clan leader Morthek, whose own raiding fleets had vanished without trace in the outer systems, stepped forward with fury burning in his multiple eyes. "This is impossible. Humans are prey species. They lack the killer instinct necessary for true warfare." "Tell that to the ghost ships that destroyed your fleets," Vextai replied coldly. Tell that to the warriors who boarded what appeared to be helpless human vessels, only to disappear forever. The assembled leaders shifted uncomfortably. Each had lost ships and crews to these mysterious human operations, but none had wanted to admit the possibility that their prey had evolved beyond their ability to hunt effectively. Intelligence. Chief Mordak activated new displays, showing intercepts from the few surviving witnesses. The humans have developed vessels specifically designed to appear vulnerable while concealing overwhelming firepower. They use our own hunting instincts against us, presenting irresistible targets that become death traps. The psychological impact was devastating. For generations, the Kethvar had been apex predators in this region of space, their reputation alone enough to make entire systems surrender without resistance. Now that reputation was becoming a liability, marking them as targets for human hunter-killers that struck without warning. "What do you propose?" asked clan leader Vorthak, whose territory bordered human space. "Do we withdraw from human systems entirely?" "Withdrawal is not an option," Vextai replied. "Our economy depends on raiding operations. Our warriors require combat to maintain their skills, but we must adapt our tactics to account for this new threat. The adaptation would prove more difficult than any of them imagined." Aboard the Retribution, Elena was reviewing intelligence reports that painted a picture of growing chaos within Kethvar space. The systematic elimination of raiding fleets was having effects far beyond the immediate tactical victories. Clan infighting has increased by 300%, Commander Chen reported during their daily briefing. Without successful raids to maintain their territories, the clan leaders are turning on each other for resources. Elena nodded with satisfaction. This had been part of the strategic calculation from the beginning. The Kethvar social structure depended on constant expansion and conquest to maintain stability. Remove that outlet and their society would begin consuming itself. "What about the other predator species?" she asked. "The Vashtai have suspended all operations in human space," Chen replied. "Same with the Corvallis Syndicate. Word is spreading that humans are no longer safe targets. The ripple effects were spreading throughout the galactic underworld. Species that had preyed on human colonies for decades were now avoiding human space entirely, uncertain what new surprises awaited them. The psychological warfare aspect of the hunter-killer program was proving as effective as the actual combat operations. Meanwhile, in the depths of the ship, former squad leader Krex was adapting to his new role as strategic consultant. His insights into Kethvar psychology had proven invaluable, helping human planners predict and counter alien tactical responses. "Your next target should be Clan. Vorthak's supply depot at Kepler Station," he advised during his latest consultation with Elena. "It serves 6 different raiding groups and maintains the largest stockpile of weapons in this sector." Elena studied the tactical data Krex had provided. The station was heavily defended, but its destruction would cripple raiding operations throughout the region. More importantly, it would send a message that no Kethvar installation was beyond human reach. "Why are you helping us?" she asked the alien warrior. "Your own people would consider this treason." Krex's mandibles clicked, and what Elena had learned was their equivalent of bitter laughter. "My people are already dead. The Kethvar as we knew them cannot survive this new reality. Perhaps by helping you I can ensure that some of my species survives what is coming." His words carried the weight of prophecy. The Kethvar Empire, built on predation and intimidation, was beginning to collapse under the weight of sustained resistance from their former prey. Other predator species were watching this collapse with growing alarm, uncertain whether humanity would turn its attention to them next. Chief Engineer Martinez had made another breakthrough in his analysis of captured alien technology. "I've figured out why their ships are so vulnerable to our weapons," he explained to Elena during their technical briefing. "They've never faced an enemy with equivalent technology. Their defenses are designed to overwhelm primitive weapons, not to survive sustained attack from peer-level threats." The revelation explained why the hunter-killer program had been so devastatingly effective. The galaxy's predator species had grown complacent, their military technology optimized for bullying weaker civilizations rather than fighting equals. When faced with humanity's advanced weapons and tactics, their technological advantages evaporated. It's like watching a pack of wolves suddenly realize they've been hunting tigers. Martinez continued. They simply don't have the tools or training to handle a threat that fights back effectively. The Retribution's next mission would test this theory to its limits. Kepler Station was not a raiding fleet that could be lured into a trap. It was a fortified installation with defensive capabilities that rivaled anything the HFY had built. Attacking it would require different tactics and accepting much higher risks. As the ship approached the Kepler system, Elena addressed her crew over the internal communication system. These men and women had volunteered for a mission that most of the human military considered suicidal, and they had exceeded every expectation placed upon them. "Today we're not fighting raiders or pirates," she announced. "We're attacking a military installation that the HFY consider impregnable. They're expecting us now, and they'll be ready for our usual tactics." The crew listened with the calm attention of professional soldiers who had faced impossible odds before and emerged victorious. They understood that their mission was about more than simple revenge. It was about reshaping the balance of power in this region of the galaxy. "But they're not ready for what we've become," Elena continued. "They still think of us as prey that has learned a few new tricks. They don't understand that we've evolved beyond their ability to categorize or counter. Today we show them what apex predators really look like." Through the viewports, Kepler Station appeared as a massive fortress in space, its weapon batteries already tracking the approaching human vessel. The HFY had indeed been expecting them, and they had prepared what they believed to be an adequate defense. They were about to learn that their understanding of human capabilities was still dangerously incomplete. The Retribution had been designed for exactly this type of mission, and its crew had been training for this moment since the program began. As the ship entered weapons range, Elena felt the familiar calm that came before battle. The galaxy's predators had ruled through fear and superior firepower for too long. It was time to show them that evolution favored not the strongest, but the most adaptable, and humanity had learned to adapt better than any species in the galaxy. Kepler Station erupted in defensive fire as the Retribution approached, its massive weapon batteries sending streams of plasma into space that could have destroyed entire fleets. The HFY had learned from their previous encounters with human forces, concentrating their most powerful weapons and their best commanders at this critical installation. Station Commander Gextel watched from his command center as the single human ship advanced through the withering barrage. He had studied every available report about these new human vessels, and he believed he understood their capabilities. They were formidable opponents, but they were still just one ship against a fortress that had stood unconquered for 50 cycles. "Concentrate all fire on their main hull," he ordered. "Overwhelm their defenses before they can deploy whatever trap they're planning." But the Retribution was not following the same tactics that had made the previous hunter-killer operations so successful. Instead of appearing helpless to lure enemies into boarding range, it fought like the apex predator it truly was. The ship's adaptive armor absorbed the plasma bombardment, while its advanced maneuvering systems made it nearly impossible to target effectively. Elena stood on her command deck, watching the tactical display as her ship danced through the alien fire. This was what the Retribution had been built for, not just ambush operations but direct assault on heavily fortified positions. Every system had been designed to push the boundaries of what was possible with human technology. "Target their primary reactor complex," she ordered. "I want precision strikes to disable their power grid without destroying the station entirely." "Target acquired," her weapons officer reported. Firing solution locked. The Retribution's main gun spoke with devastating precision, sending guided projectiles through gaps in the station's defenses that computer targeting couldn't have detected. The rounds struck the reactor complex with surgical accuracy, causing cascading power failures throughout the massive installation. Inside Kepler Station, Commander Gextel felt his fortress dying around him. Emergency lighting flickered as primary power failed, and his weapon batteries fell silent one by one. The human ship had done something impossible. It had crippled a fortress designed to withstand full fleet attacks using only precision targeting. "How?" he whispered, staring at displays that showed his carefully planned defenses crumbling. "How can one ship be so accurate?" The answer lay in humanity's greatest strength, their ability to synthesize knowledge from multiple sources and apply it in unexpected ways. The Retribution's targeting systems combined artificial intelligence, human intuition, and detailed intelligence gathered from captured aliens to achieve a level of precision that no purely technological solution could match. As the station's defenses fell silent, Elena opened a communication channel to the alien command center. Her image appeared on Gextal's main screen, and the Kethvar commander found himself face to face with the architect of his defeat. "Commander Gextal," she said calmly, "I am Master Sergeant Elena Vasquez of the Terran Defense Force. Your station is disabled and your weapons are offline. I'm offering you the same choice I've given every Kethvar commander. Surrender and live, or continue fighting and die." Gextal stared at the human female, his mind struggling to process what had just occurred. His impregnable fortress had been reduced to a helpless target in less than an hour by a single enemy ship. Everything he had believed about human military capabilities had been proven wrong. "What are your terms?" he asked, his warrior's pride warring with his survival instincts. "Complete surrender of all personnel and materials," Elena replied. "Cooperation with intelligence-gathering operations. In exchange, your people will be treated according to the Terran Convention on Prisoners of War." The offer was more generous than any Kethvar commander would have made, but Gextal recognized it as a calculated move rather than mercy. The humans wanted intelligence more than they wanted Kethvar blood, and living prisoners were more valuable than dead heroes. "I accept your terms," he said finally, the words bitter on his alien tongue. As Kethvar warriors throughout the station laid down their weapons, Elena reflected on how far the hunter-killer program had come. What had begun as a desperate attempt to protect human colonies had evolved into something far more significant, i.e., complete reversal of the galactic power structure. In this region of space, Chief Engineer Martinez led the boarding teams that secured the station's critical systems. Unlike the desperate battles that had characterized earlier operations, this boarding proceeded with methodical efficiency. The Kethvar offered no resistance, their spirit broken by the impossible precision of the human attack. "Station secure," Martinez reported. "Initial intelligence estimates indicate this facility coordinated raids across 17 systems. We've effectively shut down Kethvar operations throughout this entire sector." The strategic implications were staggering. Kepler Station had been the nerve center for Kethvar military operations, and its capture would ripple throughout their empire. Without this coordination hub, the various clan fleets would be operating blind, unable to coordinate their efforts or share intelligence. In the months that followed, the effects of the hunter-killer program became apparent throughout known space. Kethvar raids ceased entirely in human territory, and their empire began fragmenting as clan leaders turned on each other for dwindling resources. Other predator species, observing the Kethvar collapse, quietly withdrew from any operations that might bring them into conflict with human forces. Admiral Harrison received the final report on the Retribution's mission while standing in her office, overlooking the San Francisco shipyards. Through the window, she could see the construction of 12 new hunter-killer vessels, each incorporating lessons learned from the successful operations. Total Kethvar military capability in this sector has been reduced by 87%, her aide reported. Raiding operations against human colonies have dropped to 0. Intelligence indicates similar results from all hunter-killer operations. Harrison nodded with satisfaction. The program had achieved everything they had hoped for and more. Humanity was no longer prey in this dangerous galaxy. They had become something far more formidable. Aboard the Retribution, former squad leader Krex prepared for repatriation to Kethvar space. His cooperation had earned him a place among the prisoners being returned to carry word of human capabilities back to his people. As he stood in the transport bay, Elena approached for a final conversation. "Your people will rebuild," she told him, "but they'll do it knowing that humans are no longer viable targets. The age of easy raiding is over." Krex nodded, his alien features unreadable. "My people are warriors, but we are not fools. We have learned that humanity is not what we believed. This lesson will be remembered." "See that it is," Elena replied. "The next time predator species threaten human colonies, the response will be even more severe. We've proven we can adapt and evolve. The question is whether the rest of the galaxy can do the same." As the transport carrying repatriated prisoners departed for Kethvar space, Elena stood on her command deck watching it disappear into hyperspace. The ship carried more than just former enemies. It carried a message that would spread throughout the galactic underworld. The message was simple but profound. Humanity had evolved beyond the role of prey. They had become apex predators in their own right, and any species that threatened human colonies would face the consequences. The galaxy's balance of power had shifted permanently, and the age of human victimhood was over. In the depths of space, other predator species received this message and began making their own calculations. Some would test humanity's resolve and learn the same harsh lessons as the Kethvar. Others, wiser or more cautious, would seek accommodation with this new reality. But all would remember the lesson of the retribution and the ships like her, that humanity's greatest strength was not their technology or their tactics, but their ability to evolve beyond their enemy's understanding. They had been underestimated once, and they would ensure it never happened again. The stars themselves seemed to take notice as humanity stepped forward into its new role as protector rather than victim, predator rather than prey. The galaxy would never be the same.